they deserve. But you spoke with Bob and Teri throughout the meet about specific swimmers, and now they can go ahead and talk about those swimmers and the team at large. I guess we'll start with ladies first, and Teri can give a brief opening statement if you want to about the team and how you see it right now, and then we'll turn over to Bob and then have some questions.
I just have to first comment that it has my Twitter account, and I've sent exactly 11 tweets in my whole life, and the girls are teasing me. That's the first time I've ever seen that, and it just, please don't tweet and think you're going to get anything good, because you're not. So I don't even know what I'm doing, but I just think that you know, going through the meet and obviously paying a little bit closer attention to the women, it's just a wonderful mix of veterans and new faces, new names, and surprises and opportunities. I think we're going to get through this meet in Australia, and you know, a lot of people are going to gain confidence for the next 2 years and leading into Rio. I think there's some people that were in London that are going to figure out if they're going to get, you know, kind of buckle up the belt, or if it's time to move on. And I just think it's a really transitional period, and you know, with that is a lot of excitement, a lot of opportunity, a lot of challenge, a lot of tears, a lot of smiles, and it's just been a really interesting last couple days, and I know it's only going to get more exciting as we put the team together, and you know, it's kind of a weird situation when you get to Pampax, in that we're a team, yet we're still competing for places on Worlds, and I know 4 years ago that creates a real challenging dynamic as a coaching staff to bring this group together, yet they're still competing with each other. So I know that Bob and I are up for that and have done it before, but it's, you know, it's definitely different than any other international situation that you go on.
Sure. Well, Teri just said everything, so no. I think on the men's side, the one thing that we have that probably is going to be interesting for us is that while we do have our two go-to guys here, they may not necessarily be the go-to guys. And some people are going to have to step up if we're going to be competitive in the relays. And I'm very excited to see that happen. And I think there are some people who are ready to do that. I think we're going to find out, you know, a little bit more about what we're going to look like in the second half of the quad. And it'll also give some people a chance to have a reality check and like Teri said, make some adjustments or make some choices. But I'm looking very much forward to it, and I think it'll be fun.
Mitch Bowman, Swim. I was wondering, you got a lot of young talent coming up on the team right now. You got some guys who have never competed on a national squad before. So what's the plan from now to then to kind of get them ready for that next level of experience and competition?
Well, I think the big benefit is we have a lot of people with a lot of experience. You know, some of these guys have been doing this for a long time, so you kind of partner them up and they get mentored. It's also about the culture of the group as well. I do think we're lucky that a lot of those kids have maybe been on a junior team or have been on another trip before, so they kind of have an idea of what the culture of the national team is. And, you know, we just kind of take that one step further as they go to the next level of competition, and they'll learn how to carry themselves and what's appropriate and what's not, and have the, you know, the older guys will definitely help them understand, you know, what this level's about and what representing the USA is all about.
Teri, Eric Bull from the LA Daily News. Kind of to Bob's point with regard to the women, or should I say in a lot of cases the girls, on Wednesday alone, I mean, if they end up taking the top three in all the events, I think 6 teenagers could have qualified alone on Wednesday. I mean, how excited are you about what the potential is for them in the next 2 years, and then also where do you potentially see the leadership coming from? I mean, obviously, Missy and Katie have been at the big level, but they're also still 19 and 17, so where do you see the leadership on this group coming from?
I think the leadership is coming from some age of people that have done it, you know, Micah Lawrence or Jessica Hardy, Claire Donahue, but I really think leadership comes from Katie and Missy too, sure, in that the chronological age is one thing. Leadership, I believe, is not necessarily tied into chronological age, and the way those two women I've seen them carry themselves internationally, and Missy on a day-to-day basis for the last almost year now is, that's exactly what the newbies need to see. And I know it in just talking to Missy, like she's excited about that. She had the great opportunity to be mentored by Michael and Natalie, and it's not just the men mentoring the men and the women mentoring the women. I think one thing we've done a great job in the last 4 to 5 years is really integrating the staff and integrating the team. I've said this before, I really think there's 3 teams. There's a women's team, a men's team, and a combined team. And our job is to really nurture that and find ways that each of those men and women can be their best, and putting them in a comfortable situation with a coach, an older athlete, a younger athlete, and we don't have a lot of time, and in a way I think that's almost better, because we're just going to get right down to it. Sometimes when the training camp is a little bit longer and there's more time to think is where you get into some challenges. We're not going to have time to think. We're going to get on an airplane, we're going to be there, we're going to have sleep for a couple days, and then we're going to have to race. So I think it's a perfect scenario. This is a perfect trip for new people to be involved in.
Because you have so many young ones, it seems like the ceiling could be just enormous for this group of young women in 2 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes back. Those athletes are going to figure out what it takes to be at that level. And I think there's some older ones that still have the opportunity to be there that need to recognize there's some people nipping at your heels, and what are you going to do about it? So that's exciting.
Teri, David Reeder, Swimming World. I'm just wondering if you could assess the performances of some of your athletes here, specifically Missy and Elizabeth Pelton and Rachel Bootsma.
Well, I think, it's interesting. They all swim a lot of similar things, and I think there's a belief or maybe a perception out there that, we, all 3 of them, knock it out every day together, and we just see, the fittest survive. And they're very, very different individuals. They're different women. They have different strengths. And, I think my biggest opportunity and challenge has been to really create day-to-day situations that bring out the best of them. They're at different places of their life personally and professionally, and I feel personally just incredibly blessed and honored that I get to facilitate that different, and feel incredibly tired at times from riding those emotions, but as a coach, it doesn't get any better than this. I know in working with Natalie, I had many people that said, it's never going to get any better. You're never going to have another Natalie, and I don't have another Natalie, but I have more of really talented, bright young women that I get the opportunity to spend day to day with. And, some of it's great, some of it's not as good as you want it, some of it's better than you expected, and I just think that's the beauty of the sport, and that up and down and challenge and personal battles that each of them battles, challenges, whichever way you want to look at it, are going through is personally where I find the greatest joy. And it's not always fun, but I think that's where the good stuff happens. I think time is one way to measure if you're at your best, and I would agree that none of them have had their best time, but I think all 3 of them are in a better place than they've ever been when they did their best times, and that to me is important, and it's important about a process, and Missy's got a different journey than Elizabeth does, than Rachel does, and they are at their best. It just isn't a best time, and that's what I'm really proud of, and that doesn't show up in the newspaper, or I don't think even is appropriate to talk about like here, but I really believe that each of them are in a better place than they've ever been when they did their best times. And that then gives them opportunity to be better than they've ever been. I know that's a very Berkeley thing to say, but I believe that.
Yeah, Nick Sicardi, NBC Sports. What do you guys think the atmosphere for a meet in Australia like this, it's so big, is going to be like compared to maybe it would have been maybe 10 or 15 years ago? And what do you think the state of the U.S.-Australia rivalry is today?
Well, if history is any indication, the atmosphere will be great because the stands will be full, and they love swimming down there, and they're pretty good right now. Yeah. They're on fire. We haven't been yet. I think we have a good team. I think our team is going to get better, but we're going to have to get better if we want to give them a meet. So I think there'll be plenty of energy and incentive to do well from our part, for sure.
Yeah, and just, I mean, you know, the atmosphere has been great, great here, and I mean, they love their swimming, and just, I've always found just like that's the best country to go to where swimming is just held in the highest regard. And I was telling one of the girls the other day that my first international trip as a coach was Goodwill Games in 2001, and I remember riding the bus, and they're commentating on the radio races, and everyone's got a nickname, and I was like, this is like crazy, you know, and so I think every swimmer deserves the opportunity to go down there and experience that, and I think it's going to be great, like, and for some of the new people to experience that, and to experience that through their eyes for the old people is awesome. You know, I remember when, like, Missy got her Olympic stuff, or we walked into the village, or Katie, you know, and it's just like this brand new thing where then you have a Dana Vollmer or Natalie that have done it 3 or 4 times, and it's good for them to just see that, like, I mean, I feel that even with me sometimes. You get a new coach on the staff, and you see how excited they are about everything, and, you know, part of it you're like, God, calm down, and the other part is like, is like, oh my gosh, like, this is really, really cool, and don't ever take it for granted.
Right.
So that's a very long answer. I apologize, but yeah.
It's a good one.
This is a question for Teri. When you're talking about leadership coming from Missy and Katie, how much of it with Missy is just her personality, her effervescence, her positivity? Have you found even at Cal that that's been contagious with her teammates? And with Katie, is it just her hard work and her training attitude that is a form of leadership?
Yeah. Just Teri McKeever's philosophy is leadership is it's not about what you say, it's your actions. And your actions, you know, the saying that I can't hear what you're saying because your actions are speaking so loudly. And I just really think both those women, their actions and their day-to-day way they take care of business is contagious. You know, we were at practice last week, and one of the girls, Missy, did something that's, you know, kind of Missy, and one of the girls said, like, what did she do? Fall out of a box of Lucky Charms? You know that she's, and it was just a perfect way. Either, and you know, that's a perfect way to explain it. Yeah, it's like she fell out of a box of Lucky Charms. You know, so it's pretty cool to have around.
This is for Bob, and sorry to be Phelps-centric, but
Okay.
you know, when he swims a race like today, I mean the 100 back, where he hasn't generally done it at big meets, how do you assess whether it's been a success and kind of how it fits into his overall progress right now?
Well, I kind of look at his time, which was pretty good, and the way he swam it today is how he used to swim a lot of races when he was at his peak, where he just like went out really slow and came back fast, but that means he's pretty confident in it. You know, he didn't like spin his wheels and try to panic down there like he did in the 100 fly last night, you know, under pressure. So that was good. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for him to be relaxed, to have control of his stroke, and to have some, you know, a good strategy. And for him, that's his strategy. Tonight, if he takes it out faster and finishes fast, he'll be in good shape. So I think that's how we do it.
Can you just, I'm writing something about Katie Ledecky. Can you, since you've both had experience with elite swimmers, Michael Phelps, Natalie Coughlin, can you talk about what you see in Katie Ledecky that perhaps you also saw in your swimmers, or draw any other parallels that you think might be relevant?
Sure. You want me to go? I was thinking of this when someone asked Frank about Katie getting near the record this morning. And, you know, Katie reminds me very much of Michael when he was on the very top of his game at that age, and they're kind of moving forward, and almost every week they're getting better. And I guarantee you, to her, she's probably just feeling good and just swam hard. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to break a world, you know, and next thing you know, they're just doing something like that. And it's just a great example of how, you know, she's training well, she's just progressing, and it's probably very incrementally small steps, but over a long period of time, she starts traveling a long way. So to her, going 3:59, you know, it's close to her best time. You know, any of these other girls that were 4:08 and they went 4:08, we wouldn't say too much, but, you know, she's up there. So I think it just means that she's becoming a better swimmer virtually every week, and that's what you want them to do. And not just in the swimming, it's like Teri says, away from the pool, learning how to handle things, learning how to, you know, deal with things that come up and bumps in the road. So I think Bruce has done a great job of helping her to continue to progress at a very steady rate, and that's sort of just kind of a good example of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add the same thing. And, you know, I love when she goes to the Grand Prix and she swims all the different events, and she's on the relay with, you know, her age-appropriate teammates, and I think that's going to really serve her well in the years to come. And she's, like Bob said, I just see her loving the sport, and she's just, that's where she is, and that's where she should be. So she's just gonna go, you know, and
you know, she probably got out and Bruce said, you know, on that third turn, you probably could have done da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was like, okay, yeah, let's have lunch and come back tonight. That's usually how it goes. When they're like that, that's the way it goes. That's the fun part.
And you just relish that it stays there as long as possible.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Teri, is Missy still at that stage?
No.
She said something the other day of her double about the important thing for her was to erase the fear and just have fun with it. And I don't think any of us think of Missy as having fear. How do you interpret what she, you know, was meant by that?
Well, I think it's like Bob said, when you're rising and you're climbing, and every time you get in the water, you feel great, and it's exciting, and then you know, things just kind of you're growing, you know, all the things are kind of coming together that allow people to physically keep performing, and there aren't expectations, and nobody knows your name, and then all of a sudden you can't go to college because people are screaming at you when you walk down you know, you can go to college, but you know, people are screaming at you, and they want to, People magazine calls and wants to get you moving into the dorm, and you know, and this generation is in a electronic world that I don't even understand, you know, and I think that puts, you can't get away from all that, and how do you then stay true to what you want to do and not what you think other people want you to do? And I think that's hard for anybody, let alone a world-class athlete, and let alone doing it in a public arena. Like, I think if we all just take a moment and think about what we were like from 15 to 17 to 19 to going to college to, those are really, really crazy, crazy years, and lots of it has nothing to do with a workout. and so, you know, and then, like I said, not only are you doing that around people that you trust and you know love you and want your best, but you're doing it in front of the world, and I think that is a really wonderful blessing that she has the opportunity to do that. And you know, we've talked a lot about like the new normal. There is not a normal where she can, or Michael can, I mean, they can't go with their teammates to you know, let alone a swim meet. You can't get on BART with your teammates to go see a movie, and it takes a toll on them, and I think it takes a toll on their teammates. And I feel the thing I'm most proud about is just the environment that I think we've been able to create for Missy to have as normal of experience for her and her teammates. You know, that it's really challenging, and I'm sure Michael has and Bob have experienced this, that you know you're in a workout situation and people want to come and look, and you know, maybe Michael can handle it and Missy can handle it, but the other 20 didn't sign up for that. You know, so it's really it's been a very challenge. And again, like, it can either be a bad thing or it can be a good thing, you know, and I went through it a little bit with Natalie and teammates, and I'm sure Michael or Bob and Michael can speak to that, you know, it's an honor to be their teammate, and it's a responsibility, and as their coach, you know, it's a responsibility, and you get access to things and trips and that you never would have had, but there also comes expectation for you and responsibility, and
so
it
funny you
changes
say that.
your life.
Yeah. I know that Michael, when I went to Michigan, and that's kind of like when Michael would have gone to college, and he went up there, and after maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks, he came in my office and he's like, I don't fit in here. And I was like, Michael, you don't fit in anywhere. Yeah. It's true, and you know, he had to, and that's what he had to learn. It's like normal for him is not normal for. He's like, I'm just not normal. I'm like, that's right. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
You know, but it's something that seems like, oh well, everybody would like to do that until you're on the other side a few times, and it's quite a challenge to make all that, to balance all that.
And think about when you're 17, what's every ounce of your being saying, I want to be normal. I want to be like my friends. I want to fit in. And you know, you're trying to convince them like, oh, it's good not to fit in. You know?
Exactly, right? Yeah. Great. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.